Good morning, everybody. Today we're going to look at the Bitcoin futures chart. And the reason is, and I think it might be to do with volume, because there's quite a lot of volume in the Bitcoin futures, it's trading much better technically than some of the other Binance or Bitfinex charts are as well. And so that's why we're going to look at it. And I noticed this before when I was looking at the big fib retraces. So we're going to stick with that, look at the Bitcoin futures chart today and the possibilities. First of all, Brett last night pointed out a Gartley pattern, a bullish Gartley pattern, a classic Gartley pattern. And we're getting into the zone of the reversal zone. You know, it's not it's never an exact science with these patterns because you're relying on everyone in the market, you know, thinking about buying at the same level, and not everybody looks at Gartley patterns. But this would be, if we reversed around sort of 8,900, 9,000, this would be an ideal Gartley pattern. From this low to this high, the first swing was 61.8 approximately. The second swing would stop at the 786 fib of this low to high. This would be 1272, and this would be two equal swings. So that's our bullish Gartley pattern. But in the futures, one of the reasons why, and I'm going to start here just on the weekly chart, and the dog thought she'd join in the live, so that's her in the garden making a racket. When I look at the weekly chart, you know, when you get a reversal and a 618 fib retrace, which is what it is in the futures here, then we went exactly to the 38.2 and bounced, you know, and that kind of fib high to low, this was the only exchange where that happened. In all of the other exchanges, we didn't quite reach that 38.2 level. In all of the other exchanges, we're just underneath the 50-day moving average. Here in the futures, we're still holding on to it pretty nicely. And so I'm wondering, you know, maybe this is still potentially just a wave 4 relative to this wave 2 here. And if we hold and we rally very shortly, we will find out. But we'll only find out when we kind of take out these highs, rally more than 50%, I'm going to say, and start a new upswing. For me, there are two potential scenarios going on here. The first one is that we're doing a wave 2, okay, and if we do that in time equal to the one that we had at the beginning of the year, then this correction will end around the end of the month. So beginning of August, we should start to see a rally, and that would mean, you know, some sideways trade. When we look back, we could very easily do sort of 8 days. We did it here. We made a low and then we went 8 days sideways, retested the lows, and off we went. You know, and we do this quite often. A low here, 8 days, retest, and then off we rally. So I wouldn't be surprised if we had some pretty ugly sort of mark time back and forward between these moving averages before we decided that we were all ready to rally again. And we did that at the start of August. So that would be if we're then looking for a fifth wave, and that would take us, I think, to around 17,000. Okay, so that's the scenario 1. We stay in correction mode, we bounce here, we hold, we find a low pretty shortly. I think I'm going to show you why in a minute, around 9,100, no more than sort of 9 there. Now that's scenario 1, more bullish. We start our new bull run beginning of August. Now the second option is that the other exchanges are right, that underneath the 50 moving averages means we're in a bigger pullback. We've completed this big wave 1 completely, and we're going to see that 50% retrace. Remember, on a weekly chart, we're underneath. If we look at closes on the other exchanges, we're at the 50% level, looking for a 50% pullback. The futures exchange doesn't agree because we closed above this 50. So we're going to find out which one is right. And if that's the case, how long? We need to say to ourselves, well, how long will this correction take? When will it be that we need to start filling up Bitcoin and buying it for the next big swing? Because the next big swing will be a big, major wave 3, right? Well, the way I calculate, I say, and I'm going to do trend-based fib time, there we go. So for me, I say, most corrections like this are at 1/3 of the time that we tick to rally. So if we did a 38.2 in time, that would put us on the 4th of September. And as we know, we talked about last night, it's very common for Bitcoin to make a low and start a bit of a run in September. And we looked at like at least 3 years where that's happened, where we've made a low in the summer, we've retested it at the start of September, and then we've had a massive rally. So that would be scenario B. So that's what I'm looking at. If we make a base here and take off beginning of August, and I think we need to keep an eye on it, then that may be that we'll see a fifth wave, and then we'll see a bigger correction come back to around the same level, back to around 10,000 again, before we start the big wave 3. Or it may be that this entire sequence is correct. We're going to keep in correction mode until the beginning of September, and then we'll start our big rally. So short term, where are we? So that's my big picture view. Short term, where are we? I'm looking for a second leg of correction lower, as you know, and very often they're equal. Now, if I do that here in the future Bitcoin futures, here that gives us 9,057, which lines up very nicely with the support and resistance level around 9,000. It would work as a big round number as well. So there's a lot of reasons to like this. The problem is that this sequence here, we're looking for ABC down, ABC up, and then 5 waves to finish. And this third wave here in the middle can't be the shortest. So if I measure from this high to this low, and I put it from here, we can't overshoot this. So we can't go beyond 9,000. So we know where we're wrong about this being a correction, or if I've counted this wrong. Now, if I've counted this wrong, then this is 1, 2, and this is 1 of 3, 2 of 3, and we're 3 of 3, and this next wave will be the biggest. So we need to watch out here, because if we're wrong, this will be a very strong down wave. So, and that will take us down to the 7,000s, that 50% retrace that we talked about. So we'll just go back and we'll look at Bitcoin at different exchange. So for example, let's look at it, Bitcoin US dollar tether at Binance, and I'll show you what I mean about this 50% level. So on the weekly, like this, if we go from this high to this low, you can see that we could not close above this 50% level, and markets that do that, markets that mean reverse at a 50% level, tend to then do it again 50% the other way. So if we go 50% from this low to this high, that gives us, little magnets back on so I can measure it right, that gives us a target down here of 8,563. So Paul Breen, that would be your level filled, your gap in the future filled. That would be 50% retrace of the rally, and this would be quite a normal correction. And if that comes to play, this would mean that this is one complete sequence. And if this is one complete sequence, then we can be looking for that low around the beginning of September again. So we'll do the measure tool again down here, trend-based fib time. Here we go. We'll go from this low to the high rather than from another low. That tells us on this chart, if I've measured it right, that gives us the 8th of September. So futures say 4th of September, Binance say 8th of September. So that first week of September, we would be looking for a tradable low to buy. So those are the two scenarios. That's where we're at. I do think no matter what happens, whether we're in the big drop until September scenario, or whether we're in the, still got another wave 5 to come scenario, I think that we will find a base pretty shortly around 9,000. And what will determine where we go next will be the rally. If, when you have an ABC, you put your fibs over both swings. So say we did stop around here around 9,000. Let's change the color and clean this up. Okay, and so you normally, we can't rally more than 50%. Remember, we're in that 50% thing. Okay, so if we can't get above 11,500 on this rally, then we'd be looking at another leg lower into September. At the moment though, this morning, have we got anything we can trade here? Not really. Now, we're just coming into the maybe scenario here on the 15-minute. So if this is the low, okay, and if the bottom is in, because I think there's a good chance that we don't go much lower because this wave 3 can't be the shortest. Okay, and here in Binance, here's our 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so this wave can't be the shortest. And if we do that, oh, hold on a minute, I haven't measured it right. Let me go back to the hourly. There, this is better. Phew. I was like, what happened here? Okay, yeah, we can't really go below 9,075. Now, so we're approaching a zone where we may see a reversal. Very often in Bitcoin, stuff gets front run. On the futures, we are at the daily 50 moving average. That is a powerful support. So we need to be looking at this. So I'm just going to do this little 15-minute inverted head and shoulders pattern. If we can rally from here, from this little 15-minute pattern, then, and we break higher here, and then we break this 38.2, 9,800, then we can look to 10,000. I think above 11,005. We've nailed on above 10,000, and our let's look for our hourly moving averages. Our hourly 50 is 10,250. Then we can talk about that 11,250 and see what happens there. So, slowly, remember, we've been here before and they've just been bounces in a downtrend. So we need to be very cautious, and if it reverses on us, use stops. We've got to be trading really defensively. It's still mid-July. I think that any low that we make here will be retested before we see a significant rally. I feel that really, really strongly. So you do not need to buy this first bounce. In fact, you could let this first bounce go and you can wait for the retest, and it will do you much better because, I've got it wrong a couple of times thinking, oh, this is it, here's the place. And that's the better way.